Tuesday. I've been sick, and so I have lost my count of days. It's Wednesday, I think. Yeah, this is Wednesday. Sorry. Oh well. Anyway, I am getting better. I feel so much better. Whoever out there is sick, can I talk to you for a second? I'm so sorry you're sick. You can see why. You can see why Jesus talked a lot about taking care of sick people, right? When you're not feeling well, life just looks different, and especially if you're really really sick. And I was really really sick, and I'm really really better. So anyway, you got a sick person in your life, give them a call, give them a text, give them a little hug, give them something, um, because it does change things for them. And so, shout out to all the sick people. Hope you're doing better today. And speaking of sickness, okay, you guys, all of you guys out there, we tend to have sickness in our heads. Yes, even though you can't see it. We have dysfunction, is the technical term for it. And this is a show dedicated to dysfunction or eradicating dysfunction in between your ears and mine, in here, in your heart and your soul. And there's a lot of stuff that gets in the way sometimes of things getting good, and we want to have things go well. And so that's what this show's about. This show is about putting our arms around the issues and how we feel, depression, anxiety, addictions, fear, all that stuff. And our relationships, where so much pain comes from, and sometimes our performance in life, reaching our goals. And we're going to just have another hour here putting our arms around all of that as people call in and share their stories. And let me give the number: 844-940-2774 is the number to call in live during this hour. You can view the program 24/7 as it stays up on the web on the different platforms, or can be downloaded as a podcast by going wherever you get your podcast, iTunes, any other place, under the title boundaries.me. Now, speaking of boundaries.me, that is our subscription platform where you can learn a lot more if you go to boundaries.me. But it is also where we take an email question every beginning of the program from one of our boundaries.me subscribers. Now, this morning's question may not apply to all of you, but yes, it will. Okay. You don't have this particular problem because you've never had one of your golfing buddies pull a gun on you. Okay. All who've had a golfing buddy pull a gun on them, raise your hand. Okay. Very small group. Our anonymous callers had that happen though. I have played a lot of golf in my life. I've never had that happen. But the issue involved in this question, I think, can be really, really understood and felt by all of us. So here's the question. Setting boundaries is a skill, and like any, requires practice and improvement. I love the way he sets this up. Sounds like a golfer. There's an individual in my golf group that everyone in the group agrees shouldn't be playing with us. His behavior is immature and he's threatened violence. He carries a gun on a couple of people because they've, quote, disrespected him. No one believes he would do anything. He's just a bully. But none of us wants to take that chance since his ability to handle the slightest offense is weak at best. We do have to see this individual because we all smoke cigars at the same lounge, and we are unwilling to give up the friendships and enjoyment we get from hanging out. Any, quote, boundary advice would be appreciated. How many of you how many of you have ever had that issue? I'm sorry, I'm a golfer. And so generally speaking, that's not something the golf course would be happy with either. But here's the issue. You've got a group within a larger group. Okay. And that's your problem, right? If there were no larger context, if you could just say, we're changing our group and you go off and do whatever you want to and nobody ever knows or nobody ever sees you, then you don't have the squishiness that you're worried about here because you're going to go play, but he's going to be at the course and maybe it's you and your church and you don't want to be in that small group anymore, but you're going to see these people and this and the other. But one of the things we have to do is we have to just normalize that. One of the one of the difficult things, you see this in organizations, it is very, 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 very important that not everybody comes to every meeting. Duh, right? You don't need everybody in every gathering. You don't want everybody in every gathering, and that's not a bad thing. Okay? And I'm speaking broader than him. I'm speaking to all of you now. There are sometimes, the simplest version of this is is day night. Mom and dad need their time away from the kids, and the kids, we want to go. No, this is mommy and daddy time. Okay, or even this is mommy and friend time, or daddy and friend time, or couples. Husbands need their buddy time, and wives need their buddy time, and apart from each other. No, you're not invited. Okay, sometimes extended family. This is normal. But what happens is some people, especially if they have some kinds of injuries or some kinds of sometimes narcissistic injury and sometimes abandonment issue or sometimes jealousy, competitive sibling rivalry issue, there could be a lot of things that drive this, but they have sensitivities to being excluded because they think if I'm not included in some particular activity, then I'm not liked and I'm not a part of other things or the bigger group. And so, first thing is, I just want to normalize that. Some of you, your lives are going to get very, very much improved if you learn how to say to certain people, no, we just wanted some time alone. It has nothing to do with you, but we hadn't been able to catch up with each other. So whatever. Um, so I want to normalize that for everybody. Don't feel like you're doing something bad, even if there's not a problem. Okay. You're not doing something bad by choosing, no, I just want to go to lunch with this friend and we need some time. All right. But now we're getting in some areas where sometimes a group has been established. It could be a small group in a church, it could be whatever. And somebody's behavior is putting them outside of the norms of the group. It's actually interfering with the purpose of the group. And that's what you're describing here. And normally, what happens is that somebody would go to that person one on one, and that's what I would suggest, one on one. And this would have happened way back. You're way past this, but going back, you go to this person one on one and say, look, enjoy playing golf with you and that and the other, but there's some behaviors here that get in the way of everybody's being able to play, and it's starting to affect the group. And so I'll let you know about it and ask if you cannot do that anymore. And then they say, one of my favorite verses, Matthew 18, starting at verse 15, it says, go talk to somebody in private. And if they listen, you've won them over. But then sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And if they don't, then you go the next step. What does it say? We get 2 or 3 of you in the group to sit down. So, we talked about this, and it's just not working. We're getting complaints from the group behind us on the course, and I can't concentrate when I'm hitting my shot if you've just blown up and thrown your club at somebody or, whatever. And we really we need you to stop this in order to be a part of the group. If you can't get agreement, then you say, well, we can't play together anymore. Okay. And then if they break it again, and then you get the whole group. And finally, there's some progression. Go read the passage. It's a great passage because it's about loving progressive boundaries where you talk to somebody. If they listen, you want them over, no problem. If they don't, then you need to turn it up, always in love. But ultimately, sometimes in order for something to exist, someone's got to be excluded. That's just the way it is. That's what the immune system does. All right. We can't have Thanksgiving dinner if Uncle Joe is drunk screaming at everybody. Okay. Uncle Joe may have to be excluded this year until he decides he can come to Thanksgiving, change his behavior. All right. Whoever that is, Aunt Sally, Uncle Louie, whoever, Grandma, Grandpa. Usually it's extended relatives that do this at Thanksgiving. Your problem here is that you've got somebody that's not going to take it well. So I do think if you really think that there is a danger assessment that has to be done here, then, probably before you do this, if you really are afraid of that, then I think you need to talk to somebody who's appropriate, to do that. Maybe you got a friend that's a police officer, or maybe you talk to the police themselves or whatever, and just kind of put the situation out there. But long term, I think you've got to figure out what's the safe way to do what you actually need to do. And if you really do believe that he's just a bully, you might be doing him and other people in similar circles. A lot of times, what's the best thing that can happen to a bully? Some kid stands up to them because he wants to be included. Underneath here, he just wants to be part of the gang, right? But he's got ways of pushing people away. So uh, I would hate for my golf group to be interrupted by, I can't even take the club back, afraid of somebody. That would be awful. You can't play like that. So I would address the proper authorities, and ultimately, there are things like restraining orders. If he does kind of go off, I'd have all that, and but you could get a restraining order. So I hope that's helpful to you. Big issue with how we exclude somebody. I was in a very, very good, very strong long-term small group one time, and somebody's behavior um, just became too hurtful for actually two or three women in the group, and they didn't apparently listen when the leader talked to them and continued, and uh, they had to be asked to leave a small group of many, many years, with couples. And sometimes that happens. One of my favorite verses um, in the book of Titus, Paul says, reject a divisive person after a second warning. Somebody's divisive, for example, on a team or in a group, they're always stirring up conflict. Then, if they're not listening, you can't live with division and divisiveness. So they got to be rejected. So, anyway, that's very, very important question. So let's go back to the phones, or to the phones for the first time. Before I do that, I want to give a couple of announcements. We have an event coming up for you if you have been touched by divorce. If you're looking at a divorce, if you're contemplating one, if you're in the midst of one, if you've gone through one, especially, we're having a divorce recover event on October 22nd, 2 hours live right here. Certainly downloadable afterwards, but I think you get a discount or something if you, I don't know how that works. You go to boundaries.me/recover, not the word recovery, but recover. Boundaries.me/recover. You can find out all about it. But here's the deal about divorce, and we know this, that people go through divorces end up kind of falling in a couple of camps. Some people are really devastated and stay stuck and hurt and wounded and maybe lose hope for love in the future and or repeat the cycle. But other people actually hit pause and say, how do I heal from this properly in a way that sets me up for success? How do I get out of the pain? Who can help me get out of the pain? What will help me get out of the pain? How can I learn how to avoid this kind of person in the future and fix my people picker? Because my people picker obviously is broken. Even if bad things happen to good people got to learn to recognize bad things and bad people before. There are ways to do that. We're going to talk about all of that and learning the skills that'll make it work, and especially to heal. I don't want you giving up on love and giving up on a relationship because somebody has hurt you. And that's what this day is about. It's called the day. What do we call this? Albie, what's the name of the divorce recovery workshop? I don't have the specific title. It doesn't matter. Go to boundaries.me/recover and you can find out more about it. Okay.
Hey, Henry, I believe we're calling it the recovering well from divorce.
That's what it is. I didn't have all my words in order. Recovering well from divorce. Whether you're in it, plan it, have been through it, know somebody that has, boundaries.me/recover to find out about that. Okay, so let's go to Amy, who's calling us from the great state of Texas, where I went to school down there. How you doing,
Hello.
Amy? How can I help you?
Hi.
Hi.
Um, Thank you so much for taking my call.
Hmm.
I wanted to ask, I'm in a very difficult marriage and I want to save my marriage, but I'm having trouble trying to help my husband see the things that he does that um, he's verbally abusive, he's emotionally abusive to me.
Hmm.
We have 3 kids. They're all between 16 and 12. Um, and I don't I don't want to get a divorce. I
Okay.
don't want my kids to I don't want to separate my family. I don't want to have to share my kids with my spouse and not know their whereabouts.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I get it.
so
Anything. I mean, obviously, anytime we can turn something around, that is the goal. So tell me your question.
how do I help him? I don't I mean, my husband's used drugs in the past as well, and I think a lot of it has to do with his
Is he
past
using
drug use.
drugs now? Is he using drugs now?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Okay.
But I was so slow to catch on to it in the beginning that I don't know sometimes if he is or if he's not. He works. He
Well,
works. Uh,
does he hold down a job?
yes, and he travels a lot. So the problem is so when he started using this, the way I realized it is because he would be paranoid and he wouldn't make sense, and he was very
Okay.
like
Is he doing that now?
he does that sometimes, and I know that he's on medication. I don't know exactly what he was.
What kind of
Um,
medication? Is he on psychiatric medication? Is he being treated for anything psychologically?
yes, but I don't know exactly what it was
Okay,
that he
so
was diagnosed with.
he's got a psychologist that he sees,
Yes, but I don't. I mean, they do virtual meetings, but I don't
right?
know. I'm not allowed to be
Okay,
in the
why
room.
is he going to the psychologist? Why does he go to a psychologist?
Um, because he so apparently he would hear voices and he thought it was me talking, and a lot of it has to do with and every once in a while he'll say, did you say this? And I'll tell him, no, I didn't say that.
Okay,
And he's like, I just heard you.
all right, Amy. Um, if you've, I mean, if you've got somebody that's hearing voices, call it hallucinations, and that says that they're kind of dealing with some alternate realities, and you don't know whether this is drug induced or if it is yeah, I mean, this could be a lot of things. It could be a psychosis, it could be something else. I mean, there's a lot of things that can cause that. And what really needs to be in the picture here is a really good psychiatric evaluation first. It's very difficult. Your question, as I saw it, was, how do you talk to your husband about, the marriage stuff and get him to see? Well, if he can't even see that there's somebody talking to him and somebody's not talking to him, we've got to solve that problem first. It's really hard to solve a marriage problem with somebody who, if they're actively delusional, right? If they're actively in a psychotic process, and you got to find that out. So I want you to, what I would suggest is that you contact his psychiatrist, okay, and say, look, I don't want to unless he'll talk to you. If your husband will talk to you and you can talk to him about this and all that, then that's a different deal. Will he talk to you? I think we might have lost her. I hope you can still hear. Okay, so here's the deal.
Yeah,
If he
I'm
won't
sorry.
talk to you,
She's back.
okay, will he talk to you about these problems?
So he thinks that, I mean, half the time he thinks that I'm the one that's against him.
You're the
So
one.
he's
What?
not open with me. He's not very open with me about his struggle.
Okay, so the talking to him is breaking down, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Okay, so what I would do at this point, especially, I'm really concerned about the hearing voices things. Okay, so what I would do is I would call his psychiatrist and say, look, I know you can't talk to me, okay, because you don't have permission to do that, but I don't know if you're aware of, and I just want to give you this information. You know, therapists can listen even if they don't talk, um, and kind of get that into the mix. And if some cooperation and a team approach can be started there with his permissions, and you know, obviously doing all things right in terms of HIPAA laws and confidentiality and all that. But a lot of times, to have a family member speaking into the process, if somebody's delusional, that's the most important thing we can have, because then we can all start to work as a team. All right. And so that's what I would suggest. Now, if somehow that breaks down, then I think you've got to you got to take some sort of stand to get him into a marriage counselor with you, and hopefully one that's not just a marriage counselor, but a significantly trained mental health professional, like a psychologist or a psychiatrist who does marriage counseling, because you got some significant cognitive disturbances going on here. I don't have a lot of hope for the two of you just by yourself sitting around coffee in the morning solving your marriage problems with only the two of you. I think you must get a marriage counselor in the mix who's got very, very strong mental health training. Okay. Because it's difficult, obviously, with the pain for you to talk about it, but it's also, you've already said when you do, it doesn't help. So if it's not helping, then you have to get into a process that will help. That's the key. Sorry about how hard that one must be. You know, marriage problems are tough enough, period. Marriage problems are tough enough when the marriage problems can't be talked about without the talking breaking down, period. Marriage problems are tough enough when they can't talk about them because the talking breaks it down, and there are cognitive reality testing pieces that come into the scenario, period. And they're hard enough with all those things if we don't have the proper eyeballs looking at it. And so ask yourself where you are in that continuum. You know, let me just say this real quick about working out your conflicts. Let me get the number again, 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774. You know, this is not rocket science in a way. In a way. Lucy, my youngest daughter, when she was really little, we have kept a list of Lucyisms, like bizarre stuff that she said over the years. She's a creative writer type. And and one time and she would just say the most bizarre stuff. And one time she was probably like 5 or 6 years old. And all of us turned and looked at her and we went, "What?" And she looks at us and she goes, "Well, everything I say makes sense in a way." We go, "Well, that's true. In a way, you know, it's a little 180 degrees not lined up here. But in a way, this isn't rocket science. Okay. What are we saying here? It's the same thing you do. And this is what people don't do in their relationship struggles. It's what you do in every other area of life. Think about the drain in your bathroom. Okay. Your drain's not draining. What do you do first? You sit down and talk to it. You like unscrew the little thing and you reach down there and you kind of start to pull out hair and a bunch of other stuff. You try to solve it. And if it listens to you, you solve the problem. Okay, but if that doesn't work, you don't sit there for 3 weeks still trying to grasp at straws of hair. what do? You go to the next level of intervention. All right, maybe you own one. Go get a snake and you put the snake down the drain. Right? You try to go a little deeper, but you don't do the same entry level intervention. You go to the next level. You do the snake. And guess what? Sometimes, boop, the clump pulls out and yay, we fix the problem and we go on. But if that doesn't work, you don't sit there for 3 years continuing to do the snake, do you? What do? You reach outside of whatever expertise you've got, whatever method you're trying, and you go to the next level. You call the plumber. Hey, if the plumber comes over and says, I can't fix this, we got to call, one of those, used to be called a Roto-Rooter. I don't know if they are anymore. But we got to bring in the big equipment here. And then you go to the next level. And guess what? I had that not happen one time. You know what it was? It was a problem out the street with the city. We got to get the city involved. Don't continue to pluck at the drain with problems that need a team, need some outside help. It's just, that's what's not rocket science about this. Rocket science is maybe diagnosing and what the team's got to do. I would be kind of like at the team level, right? You'd call me as a professional and I'd come in because I know some things that maybe the couple doesn't know. And maybe if I run into something, then I call somebody at a different pay grade than me because we need expertise. And that's how we solve problems, not continuing to bump up against something. I remember a case in the hospital one time where we ran into a kind of a woman was depressed, and there was just this feeling that what I was thinking about, there's something different about this, and my medical director, psychiatrist, he comes in to do an evaluation, and there's something about this depression that's not giving way to what it should be giving way to. And I'm thinking, I don't know. So what did? I called in the next level of expertise in that area. I didn't, he's a psychiatrist who understands aspects of the brain and chemistry that I don't. So he comes in, he does his evaluation. And I said, what do you think? He said, something feels very different about this. I agree with you. He said, I want to send her out for a couple tests. I would have never thought of. Comes back, she's got a tumor on her pituitary gland. See, at first her friends had talked to her about her depression, and then her group had talked to her about it, and then she went to see a counselor, and then she got referred to me, and I put her in a hospital because I knew we needed more. And then and then what do? You keep going. That's what's not rocket science about this. And I want you to think about it with whatever problem you're dealing with. It may be a kid with a school problem. It may be a marriage problem. It may be your own being stuck problem. Yes, let's address it at the drain level, but don't continue to address it at a level that's not going to address it when it needs to be addressed at a little higher level. And that's where we reach outside of what we're doing to get some help. Okay, 844-940-2774 is our number to get on the air. Don't forget to go check out boundaries.me. Go to that website if you haven't. Sign up. You can sign up for free for 14 days trial, and you get to look at the whole world of content that's there that we talk about, the principles behind all of this. Let's go to Melissa, who is calling us from Vermont. Melissa, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. So I've been married for 28 years and had a lot of anxiety after adopting children with trauma, and I had trauma. So my husband decided that we need to get a divorce.
Say that again. Say that again. Just that sentence.
Well, I had trauma and they had trauma, and we adopted them. The children that we adopted.
You were married how long?
Well, this year it's been 28 years.
28 years. And you adopted the kids when?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. And those are your first children?
No, we had 2 boys before that.
Okay. So you had 2 boys, they were raised, and then 10 years ago you
Yep.
adopted these 2.
Yep. And they're from
Okay.
my birth family, and they came with their own issues. But I started getting very anxious and controlling and perfectionist because I didn't want anybody to hurt them. And my husband ended up a year and a half ago asking for a divorce. We're Christians. We definitely believe and have faith, but he just didn't feel like he could handle me anymore. And so I went through a crisis.
Can you hold on one second? When you said they were from
Yeah.
your birth family,
Yeah, we adopted children that were my birth sister's kids. She was in jail.
okay, got it. All right. So he wanted a divorce, and you're Christians, and so keep
Yeah.
going.
Well, there was a crisis. One of my kids did get hurt, not by us. And he just, so I was still being anxious, and he just couldn't handle me anymore. So he said I needed to leave. And
What do you mean one of your kids got hurt? What does that mean?
well, she
Like had an
got
accident?
sexually abused by somebody. No, she got sexually abused.
Was that reported?
Yes, it's all been through court and everything. Yep.
Okay. So she got sexually abused. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah.
And
So
so obviously
then I
that
tried to commit suicide a few times, and I was told I needed to go get a psychiatric evaluation. I went to Dr. Daniel Amen in New York City, got help. It's like black and white. I look back and I say, how I see what I did wrong, how I was so anxious and controlling, and I can't change the past, but I want to move
if
forward.
things level now that you've gotten the right treatment, you're stable.
Yeah. Well,
Thank God for
the
that.
anxiety is God. Yeah, the anxiety is gone too.
Yeah, sometimes, and I just want to hit pause. I just want to hit pause here for 1 second for everybody else. Some of you are dealing with somebody that you love, or a family member, or even yourself, and you've kind of tried everything except getting a really good evaluation for something that may be going on in your brain. And miracles happen when the brain starts working. And so just telling everybody, listen to this, because she had all this history, she got treatment, and now it's different. Okay, so go ahead, Melissa, tell me your question.
How do I let go of my husband and still have hope?
How do you let go and have hope? Because is he just resolute, firm? There's no way he's opening the door again?
Yep. And he stopped communicating a couple months ago because he wanted me to do a financial agreement, and we have our final court date on November 30th.
And you've got an
And he's
attorney
only
that's
working-
helping you with that?
I do. So now
Okay.
it's a business proposition, but I want to be able to hope that someday God can reconcile us.
Yeah, I get it. It is a hard question, because especially when you're a person of faith, as I am, and the God that we know does impossible things. And we've all seen it who've hung around him very long. At the same time, we have seen something else be true, and that is, and even the scriptures say this, I'm thinking of the passage, for example, where Jesus says, and he couldn't do many miracles there because of their unbelief, that for some
Right.
reason, God's designed, well, we know the reasons. He's designed a system where he set it up for humans have to volunteer to play ball with him in order to win the game. And your husband is saying he's not open to that. And so you want to keep hope. I understand that. But if this is going to happen and this is real, okay, and you've tried everything, and generally the way, and make sure you go, I'm going to give you the checklist here. If he really was divorcing you for these mental health reasons, and now you've had really good treatment and clear, then I would want to get him in front of Dr. Amos people. It's a good group. They know what they're talking about, and maybe your pastor, maybe other family members, maybe friends, whatever. Generally, what we do is you want to get voices in the circle that have leverage with him apart from you, where you can't talk him into this. Sometimes people will listen to pieces of reality from people who can validate that they care about and that they will listen to. So that's another thing that can work. And if you've already tried that, then obviously
No.
it didn't work, but maybe it could. But what I'm trying to get to here is at a certain point, when we've done everything that we can do, okay, then, and this is what God does, and you said, how do you do this? What he does is he lets him go, because to continue to stay there and be involved in somebody who doesn't want to participate with you, obviously keeps you stuck. And so when you and your advisors, and I would have a good counselor involved in this, when y'all come to the conclusion that humanly speaking, he's gone, then I think your heart has to reflect that, humanly speaking. And I think you have to enter into it as what it is. It's real. This is really happening. I'm going through a divorce. And you have to go through all of the stages that are involved with that, and this, that, and the other. Now, that doesn't keep you from believing in a God that could one day, strike him with a bolt of lightning, or somehow he begins to miss or wake up or whatever and come back. But I think you have to proceed as if this is real, especially after some period of time. And I've seen people hold on and stay stuck for literally a long time. And God's not necessarily telling them that. Only thing that's telling them that is the hope and the false hope. And sometimes, as Ecclesiastes says, we have to, there's a time to embrace and a time to shun from embracing. There's a time to plant, a time to uproot what's been planted. And God has a lot of examples in his book. Some of my favorite passages are when he invites people, and they refuse him. And then he says, okay, well, fine. We're going to invite some other people because I'm still going to have a party. And that's what I'm curious and interested in for you, for the future. I want the rest of your life to be good. I want you to have the party of life. He doesn't hold the key to you having a good life. Just like God didn't let people that rejected him hold the key to him being happy. He said, good, let's go invite some other people. We'll find some people that do love us. So there's your challenge. But I do want you to, when you have somebody that is blatantly choosing to walk away, like the rich young ruler, you have to treat that as reality most times, unless there's some reason not to. And then deal with that as best you can. And then two things I'd leave you with. And that is, number one, I would give the message to him. Look, I know you're choosing this. I don't want it. Here's all the documentation and the history of how I'm doing and my desire to make it well and make it better. And I want you back. And let me know when you want that, because I'm always open. Okay. And then number two, and then you go on with your life. Okay. And let that just, be known. And then number two, you go live the best life that God has for you. The best life that he has for you. You go get well, you recover, you be best you can with your kids, and you become this thriving person for your own sake. And sometimes what happens then is somebody that's walked away is not going like they thought they would on their own. And they look over there and somebody's life is incredibly full. It looks very different. And sometimes that invites them back. But either way, that's what you need. Either way, God does not want your life to be in the control of somebody that won't participate in it. I'm going to say that sentence again for everybody. God does not want whoever you are, your life, to be in control of someone who will not come participate in your life in the way that you need or want them to. That is to turn that person into somebody with way too much power in your life. And God's the only one that should have that much power in our lives when we turn our lives and well-being and future over to Him. So if anybody's got that kind of power over you, people, that's not good. If they're not willing and they don't want to come to the table and all of that, you're tug of war. Let go of the rope. Grab a different rope and get pulled up. Thrive. It's what divorce recovery is about. One of the reasons we're having that event on October 22nd, you can sign up for it, is to not let somebody else or a process or a loss have control of you. Life is bigger than any one person, than any one person's power. It doesn't mean that one person or two people or three people don't have tremendous power in our lives. It's what they're designed for. But if it goes bad and they don't want to help and they don't want to throw anything good into the mix and all they want to do is nothing or something bad, that's when that power that has always been in your control to give to them or to take back is still in your control. And you can take that back and choose to give it to someone who cares. And that is the model that God gave for us. When He was rejected, the power that He gave to people to hurt Him, which they did, was real vulnerability. Talks about His woundedness and His pain and all this. Well, He took it back, said, okay, I'm going to go find some other people. At the same time, if you know the big story, what He does with His children, His primary family, His first family, children of Israel, He still holds out that hope, but He doesn't stay stuck. And He does. See how that works? Don't give other people that power. Okay, we're going to go to Kay, who's calling us from Washington. And Kay, welcome to the program.
Great to talk with you. I am a nurse, and I was the head nurse for Dr. Neil Nedley's depression recovery program, head of the diagnostic manual depression programs. But I am so
you're a psych nurse.
Actually, I'm a lifestyle certified. There's been 4 years now. They've been certified RNs in lifestyle medicine, where we reverse diabetes and heart disease in it's about a 21-day program.
I got you, but were you trained as a psych nurse?
Little bit. I did some.
Okay.
We do it I was the head nurse for his program, so I did that also.
Okay, I got it. Well, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. I always say that because I used to have a system with John Townsend. We had treatment centers and hospital units in about 40 cities throughout the western states, and Psych nurses are my favorite demographic of people in the world. I love psych nurses. They are just, there's so many good things about them. So if I could bring them all into my backyard here and have a big party, I would frequently, because they're the best.
Well, I'm
anyway,
coming. I'm coming
well,
if
all
you
right.
have a party.
if I haven't. So tell me how I can help you.
Well, I'm 67, retired. My husband is an optometrist, a doctor of optometry, retired, also has a degree in engineering plus K through 12 degree. We're too smart for ourselves, but we have lots of spats. We've only been married 3 years. I had a 15-year span between my 27-year marriage. I had 4 kids. We had a godly home. We had 4 kids. Anyway, it's been 15 years. Now in this marriage is developing these little spats. More and more, and I'm going,
Wait a minute. He's developing little spats. What's a spat?
A spat is a little a temper tantrum with me, and I have one. Well, I've been trying not to have one with him, but I'm just as guilty probably. But I put my foot down a lot. So.
Is that funny?
Well, for 67-year-olds, it's a little painful afterwards. For about 3 days, I suffer guilt for not being like the submissive wife or the all that stuff, which I've never been very good at. But
I would gather that. But what what are we talking about here? I mean, what the heck's a spat? Every couple has spats. I mean, they kind of bark at each other every now and then, but what does a spat look like? I mean,
okay, it's like
I had a call the other day where a lady was talking about she and her husband had marital problems, and I said blah 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 blah. We're talking about this, and how bad does it get? She goes, well, I shot him. I go, well, that's a little spat with a capital S, or are we talking about kind of small little arguments here? What are we talking about? And what's your question?
Well, we're very low-key people in terms. I run a ministry, plus, and he's like in the morning. I say, honey, we have worship together at the same time. We have devotions, family devotions together, and then I say, okay. He shows me his list to do for the day. I have mine, and then I go through this little routine of it takes us about an hour to do lunch and breakfast and clean up, and and then sometimes there's things, if we went shopping, it's a mess, so it may take an hour. I need us to do it together, and it's like, he might do 2 dishes and walk away. Oh, I've got to go to the bathroom, or I've got to have something.
Wait a
minute,
like a teenager. Stop. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are you running a hospital unit, or are you just going through a day at home? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is
this is every day. This is every day.
That's what I'm hearing. You start with report, right? You know what that term means. If you're a nurse, you know what that means. You change the shift, you bring everybody in, you have report. You go over the report on each patient. What meds are they on? What happened last night? What's our plan for the day? What time are we going to do? That's a little bit what this sounds like. It's great. I mean, I love ordering people's days. But then you're kind of talking about it like you're running the unit and he's not getting with the program. Or
amen.
Okay, stop. Who died and made you medical director? I mean, did he agree to this plan?
Well,
or are you just running it and he's not? You're calling him a teenager. You're calling him a teenager. So are you the parent or are you guys partners?
I want to be a partner. So I explain. For 6 months, I've been saying when we wash the dishes, all of this needs to be gone.
Stop. Okay, I'm the husband here. All right.
Yes.
Did I sign up for this program? Or are you explaining it to me all the time?
If I don't explain it, it's explained to me.
He tells you we got to have this program and stick to this schedule?
Well, yeah. He says, look at the mess over here, and what about this? We got to do all the canning. We've got 26 apple trees and 3 plum trees coming now. And I said, well, come and help me with the dishes.
All right, give me a question.
Okay, how do I tell him we either stick to this schedule, or when it comes to lunch, there's going to be the same mess that we left at breakfast? I mean, I can do it. I can do it, literally. But I'm trying to get a reason out of a man who has 3 degrees, you know.
I'm sorry, Kay.
I love it when you laugh, because I laugh when I'm in the kitchen all by myself now while he's out there picking the trees, and I'm going, ah. You know,
well,
we could have fun in the kitchen. We could be listening to you.
Yeah, but for all I know, Joey's out there saying we could be having fun out here picking the trees, and she wasn't so obsessed with the kitchen. I don't know.
That's exactly what he says.
Well, thank God that God gave him a brain that he can think for himself. All right.
But then when it comes to lunch, he says, well, how are we going to start eating? How do we prepare something?
Okay. All right, I'm going to take you back to your nursing days. All right?
Yep.
What do we have to have here for this thing to work well? We have to have a treatment plan, right?
Yes.
Okay. You guys aren't on the same plan.
That's right.
Right? So how the hell is this going to go in the same direction if you're not on the same plan?
That's right.
Now, your solution to that, it sounds like, is you're right. That's why I want to get him on the plan, right? Well, that's what I said. Nobody died and made you in charge here. You guys have got to do this together. And so what I'm hearing is you're kind of unilaterally wanting to correct his teenage behavior instead of calling him to the table and say, I'm teaching a new word, let's us together get a plan for the day. Number 1, what do we start with the vision for the end of the day? And then I've got to go to some other calls here, but I'm going to give you a quick outline here. Hey, honey, what do we want to have done by the end of the day? Well, here's some things that matter to me. What matters to you? Okay. Well, okay, we got this pile here. Well, it's a little more than we can do. Let's prioritize. What are your highest priorities? What are mine? And let's get it down to something manageable. And then what we're going to do is, do we need any help with this? Do we need to call a gardener with the trees? Do we need to, no, we can do it ourselves. Okay, great. We can do that. Then we're going to get a strategy and a plan, right? And we're going to divide the roles. Who's going to do what? Okay, and then you ask a key question. Does everybody agree with this plan? Are we all putting our hands in the circle and going, yes? And here's the phrase I want you to search for with him, Kay. Go ask him, do we have, ready for your phrase, mutually agreed upon expectations? Are we both signing off on this is what you're going to do, this is what I'm going to do? Then if we have that, now we're working together. Then you ask the next question, okay, if it starts to break down, how will we hold each other accountable? And you prepare for that. Now, once you try that, and if you do that, then you're working on the same team. But I want you to be careful, because when I said psych nurses are my favorite group in the world, one of the things I love about them is they just can take names and kick butts when it needs to be done. I mean, they're tough. They got to be tough. You can't help somebody get well if you don't have good boundaries, okay? But that's different than turning what's supposed to be an equal partner into a child or your patient or a rebellious teenager. Of course, he may be rebelling if he feels like somebody's trying to parent him. So anyway, that's what it sounds like to me. If I'm wrong, call me back, okay? Oh, gosh. I love psych nurses. All you psych nurses out there, you guys are awesome. I wish I could go on and on. You know, I'm going to take a minute here. I'm going to tell you a profile that I've seen emerge that all of us want to be like when we grow up. That's why I love psych nurses. They're smart, they're curious, they do their homework. I mean, the really good ones will lean over and say, "Hey, doc, I don't know. Do you want to really add that med because you know the side effect with this other one?" Oh my gosh, thank you. They study. They're competent. They know what they're doing. But they're also led by compassion. They really are compassionate people, but they don't let their compassion become squishy. They have really good boundaries, and they're able to say, "No, you're not going to do that. No, you're not. No, that's not okay. No, I am going to take those sharps away from you. No, I am going to ask you to go get in line and take your meds. No, you are going to stick to the schedule. No, you're going to go to group." They don't let their compassion become squishy, and they don't let their limits become non-compassionate. Okay. But then secondly, they know their role and they can fit into a team. Okay, and they be part of a bigger picture. And in my experience, they're hilarious because one of the things that we need to do when we walk through trauma each and every day and put our arms around that is also not lose the joy and the ability to laugh together. And then finally, they really know how to work as a team. And so I miss you, psych nurses, now that I no longer work in hospitals. But I think you can be a model to all of us. I bet you guys didn't expect a psych nurses appreciation day today, but there we go. Wish we could all be all of that. All right. I don't know if we have I don't know if we have time here for another call. Do we have time for another call? Let me check and see where we are here. I know that we, why am I confused here? Albie, help me out. I need a little help with the clock here in the backyard. Are we, do we have time for another call?
Sure. We got time for another call.
Okay. Who do we want to talk to?
Let's talk to Christy.
I lost my list. Okay. Christy, who's calling us from Arizona. Christy, welcome to the program. Christy?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Welcome to the program. How can I help you?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Sure.
I have a question. I have a 19-year-old daughter that is still living at home. And I'm having some issues with her line. So I just wanted, my question would be, what is a healthy way of continuing to help her and push her to continue to grow and move out of the house?
You mean in light of the lying or just in general?
Just in general. So she dropped out of high school. We were having issues with that. And she was lying to me, telling me that she was completing her homework. She didn't. And then so she ended up getting her GED. And then
that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so she does have some capacity to finish things, to stay structured, to complete tasks, to want to go somewhere.
She does, but it's super hard, and that's kind of where I'm struggling, is because I don't believe what she says, and I feel like that is damping our relationship. Because I will tell her, okay, if you go to college, I'll pay for it. You need to find a job because she's not working.
Well, why does she need to find a job? Why does she need to find a job?
Just to do something, because she's just sitting at home.
Hold on. You said you need to find a job. Why does she experience the need to find a job? What's making her need a job? I mean, I know when I was 19, not 19, a little older than that, a couple of years older than that, I needed to find a job because nobody was feeding me. Now, it sounds like you need for her to find a job. I understand that. It's a strong need every parent feels. We want our kids to thrive. But to tell her you need to find a job I don't know if that's true. She may have no need to find a job.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the task in parenting always, and especially in this age group, okay, and I shudder to use the word parenting, but as you know, because you're in a funny ground here. I'm in the same season as well. I mean, my girls are how are they? They're 18 and soon to be 20 next week. Are they kids or adults? Yeah. They're both, right?
Mhm.
And so it's funny ground. So what I want you to look at here is look at her needs. So right now, how could you transfer the need for her to get a job from your shoulders to where she feels it on her shoulders? See, that's the task of parenting, is to where we transfer the need for good behavior and the need for maturity and the need for doing the most helpful thing and all of that, where the only one who can control that is her, where she's the one that feels the need to do it. If it's all coming from you, she'll resist it. And she doesn't even need it anyway. So right now,
So how would I go about that? Because
well,
I'm so stuck.
Yeah. One of the things I'm concerned about is what, and we don't have time to go into all this, but if you can give it to me in a sentence or so, why does a 17-year-old, why does a kid drop out of high school? Why did she do that? What's the trauma that's underneath all this? What's the
Long story short, I was married for 15 years. Come to find out 3 years ago, she told me that her stepfather made a move on her, so I divorced him right away. And so after that, she just went down a spiral of
was she ever treated?
Smoking weed. We went to therapy a couple of times, and then she just decided that she wasn't going to. So I eventually had to kick her out because she was down a very, very dark path. So she dropped out of school, and then I told her if she'd quit doing all of that, and her and I constantly went to counseling together while she was living out of the home. She moved back in, and then it's just like I feel stuck, like I'm running into a wall over and over again. Because now she's
wait, hold on a second. I got to back up. So you kicked her out, you said, because she was going in, and where did she live then? I think I
with
just
her
lost
friend.
You. With her friend. Was her friend a good influence or a bad influence?
No. Because I told her she was selling weed, she was selling drugs out of my house and hanging out with really bad people, and I have a younger child that lives at home.
Okay, good.
And
Good. You just can't allow that. Okay, so but now she came back. Why'd she come back?
Right. So now she came back because the counselor and I had some rules. If she completed, a couple of counseling and showed me for like 60
so is that
days
counselor
that she was
still in the
be
picture?
clean. Yeah.
Is that counselor still in the picture?
My daughter just doesn't want to talk to her anymore. She doesn't feel like she needs to continue to talk to her. But I'm just stuck because I tell her I'll pay for college. And
why doesn't she want to talk to her? Generally, if a counseling relationship is good, then the kid wants to talk to him.
She just doesn't. She just says she doesn't feel like she needs it.
Okay.
And I'm making her do something that she doesn't want to do, and I need to respect the fact that she doesn't want to go to counseling.
Okay, well, what requirements do you have of her? See, the counseling can be linked to other things, right? So, in other words, I think what you and your counselor, apart from her even, what y'all have got to do is you've got to sit down and say, what is essential that we want to require from her in order for her to get the help and resources that we offer. She's got a place to live. She's got food. She's got a lot of good things. Okay. I started telling my kids at about age 4, nobody lives here for free. Everybody's got a job. We're all going to contribute. Okay. So what's being required from her here? And then part of that may be, you know, some sort of employment at some level, you know, some engagement in a process, et cetera, et cetera. So I would get a list of, you know, requirements that she's got to do in order to get all these great resources she's getting. But apart from that, I would also begin to, and I'm sorry, I got to run here. Um, I, I would also begin to um, find out from her dreams. You know, you probably don't want to just live here on the couch forever, right? What do you want, and how can we go about getting there? And find out what she loves and what she feels like is in the way. See, she's got some obstacles. This is a girl that is not dreaming, right? Did I lose you?
You need and
Huh?
what is it that you're wanting? And she, hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just asked her, I said, what is it that you're wanting? And she said, well, I want to go back to school. And I said, okay, well then sign up for school. I'll pay for it. I'll need you to work part-time until school starts again. And then so she set a date that she was going to speak to somebody. That date came and went. And I said, how'd it go? And she's like, oh, I didn't talk to them. So it's just like anything that I set up for her, or if I'm requiring something, that date and she comes and goes, and I just can't believe what she says anymore.
Okay. Well, then I would make, you know, I think you're in the right conversation in terms of what she wants. But I think somebody's got to have the conversation with her. If I were talking to her, I'd say, okay, I want that for you too. Our experience has been, which we don't want to have happen to you again, is that when you start down something, something happens that kind of stops it or crashes it. So what we've got to do is we've got to anticipate that. And we got to get at what's going to keep you from going to that meeting potentially. And when that happens, how are we going to avoid that? And what her fears are and all of that. And what I would want her to understand is that, and it may be that being in the counseling with you and your counselor and her, that she's passive aggressively pushing against that to have her own. I would offer her the alternative, and sorry, I do have to run at this point. I would offer her the alternative to say, okay, I will help you, but the help is going to come with some conditions. And the first condition is that, and so this won't happen again. I do want you to, and you can have your own counselor. I won't be involved other than to validate that you're going and verify you're going. Your own counselor, where you guys can come up with the plan for you that you'll be able to stick to. And then I'll be glad to support that. Okay. But there's got to be a plan, and you got to do it this way. And I would include the counseling as part of the process, as opposed to just you're going to go off and be responsible for reaching this goal. I don't believe right now she's got the capacity to do that. And so I would want to bring in a parallel structure to help her get there. But God bless you for your heart for this child. And you've stuck with her. You've done some very good things. She's back at home now, I think, partly because you did have some good boundaries early on and didn't enable that, you know, dope selling plan she was on.
Oh, it was the hardest thing, but I definitely feel it was the best thing that I did do.
Yeah. Well, you're a model right now to thousands and thousands of other parents because they're listening to you. And what you did was you put a basement floor to how far this could go. And so it's very, very important. But with the missing piece here is we are right now, the way you're describing it, we're depending on her to go take these next steps on her own. She's either incapable or in too much conflict to pull that off. So we want to add some help alongside of her, apart from you, that feels more autonomous to her, that she can then begin to go do that, where she has her own team, her own partner. She's an adult, and that helps her get out from under mom, right? The same thing I have to do with my kids, And then when we get a kid out from under a parent, well, look what happened. If I'm not under a parent, that makes me more of an adult, doesn't it? But if I'm under a parent, that makes me more like a child. And so I begin to act like a child. So we want to increase her autonomy, but not have the autonomy be isolation. We want to have her with a team around her that can help her. Okay, got to run. Hope that's helpful to you. I think I lost her. Okay, let me suggest something. Go to boundaries.me. We have several courses on boundaries.me that would apply directly to this situation if you find yourself in this. A couple of good reminders for us to have before we have to hop off today, and that is we have an event coming up October 22nd, a live 2-hour webinar addressing the pain and recovery of divorce. If you're going through a divorce or have gone through one or are looking at one or trying to recover from one or stuck from one, everything related to divorce recovery. That's what I'm going to be talking about. And here's what's important, that you recover well, okay? It's a trauma, okay? But like all trauma that is treated well, okay, people even get more resilient and stronger from, okay, and develop strengths out of that they didn't have before. And they also develop some new skills and wisdom. Trauma that's not treated well, people tend to either repeat it in some form or fashion, or it keeps finding them again, or they just stay stuck and in pain. I don't want your going through a divorce, which is a horrible thing, to leave you stuck, wounded, unhealed, unprepared. Don't do that. Step into a process where you can heal. The pain can be healed. The reasons that the pain happened can be discovered and worked through. The people picker can get better because something went wrong in a lot of cases about why didn't you see this coming? I don't blame you for that, but we always have blind spots, and we sometimes don't see things in somebody that we didn't see, and we can learn to see those, to learn the skills to make a relationship thrive and to get healed. And the most important thing, one of the most important things, is to regain hope for love. That it is possible, that it happens every day, and that it can happen for you too. So here's how to find it. Go to boundaries.me/recover. Not recovery, but recover. Boundaries.me/recover to find out more, to sign up. And while you're there, or anybody else on the boundaries.me page, then become a subscriber. Because what you'll find there is virtually, we've come to kind of refer to it internally as kind of the Dr. Cloud Life University. There's all sorts of topics in there, all related to life, how we feel, anxiety and depression and addictions, to dealing with people who make us feel bad, to dealing with people we love that we want to thrive, to reaching our goals and dreams and all sorts of stuff. Boundaries.me. Go take a look. Okay, it's been great to be with you again. Let me check on making sure of our time tomorrow. Yes, we are at our regular time tomorrow, 10 o'clock Pacific. And it's been good to be with you outside today. Our heat wave is over in Southern California, and get to be outside again. I hope the production has been okay in my outside studio. Part of which was, hey, Finley, I don't know if she's around here or not. Finley, I think she might be snoozing in the house. So I'm also, I'm home alone today. Some of you have been listeners for a while. We got a new Doberman puppy. Now it's been 4 months back. She was 10 weeks when we got her, and now Finley is 6 months old. And so I decided to go outside today because she could hang out with me, but I don't think she may. I want to call her over and invite her on camera to let you guys see. This is an incredible creature. and she's doing really well in her training. Boundaries, they work. Boundaries. That's a book I'm going to write. Boundaries with dogs. I'm serious about this. I love dog training. Okay, guys. Don't let dogs chew on your furniture or pee on your rug. Teach them how to behave. Oh, wait a minute. Was I talking about dogs or people? Same principle. You're going to kind of get the behavior you tolerate. Remember that phrase. You have to train people how to treat you. If you train them, it's okay to treat you any way they want to treat you. They're going to pee on your rug, chew on the furniture of your life. But if you tell them, no, I don't allow that, then maybe they'll go outside to pee, and maybe they'll chew on a bone or something that it's okay to chew on. That's what boundaries do. They train us with each other to love each other better. Think about that, okay? Love you guys. See you tomorrow.